So the girls wanted me to talk about young, famous, and African. And I know y'all thought I wasn't going to do it, but it took me a minute to get through it. And then I had to figure out how I was going to attack all this content because it had a whole lot going on. But I was making my Eggo waffles this morning, and the Lord said, Quentin, it is time to talk about it. So do y'all want to talk about it? Here you go. Nessa girl, young, famous, and African had it going on this season. Now, there was a lot of things we could have did without. There were a few things that left more to be desired, and it is some things we had to talk about. So I figured out how I'm going to break all this down and how I'm addressing it. I'm going to give y'all a brief outline of how we're going to do this, and then we're going to close on out and go on with our Wednesday. So we're going to talk about the addition of the new characters. We're going to talk about Bonan leaving. We're going to get an update on the old characters. We're going to talk about Andeli's love life, Diamond's love life. We're going to talk about Quentin and Callie. Then we're going to talk about Swanky and Annie. And we're going to close this thing on out. So let's first talk about the addition of the new characters. This season we meet Bonan. We meet Fatima. Is that her name? Fontana. We meet Louis, and then we meet Andele's two baby mamas, or whatever the case may be. So let's start with the addition of Bonan. Obviously, being non-exposed, ignorant Americans, a lot of us are not caught up to speed on the person's level of celebrity. So after Bonan got introduced to the scene, don't get me wrong, I loved her. I instantly gravitated towards her because we're in the same field. Granted, she's doing it on a much higher level. Go to her social media page, and it was like, okay, Bonan is that girl over there. She's that girl. Then when I started talking to a lot of my different friends that follow things over there a little more, doing a little more research, then it became one of those things of, okay, is she too much of that girl to be on this particular show? And I think the way things shook out with Bonan leaving the group, that is probably the determination that she and her team made, that reality TV, especially of this type, was probably beneath her brand. I'm assuming that is probably what happened because the drama that ensued with Bonan was completely fabricated. I mean, it was just completely fabricated. It wasn't real. You cannot tell me that Nadia and Bonan's disagreements were so deep that Bonan could not stand being in the same environment with her. We didn't even get an opportunity to even explore that. Number two, Nadia is over there performing in strip clubs, which low-key suggests to me that she's nothing more than a Love and Hip Hop Atlanta character in the real grand scheme of the African celebrity landscape. So Bonan can't be somewhere worried about her. And then the situation that they tried to manufacture between her and Louis just didn't even make sense. All right, it didn't make sense. She came to a booking. Her hotel accommodations were not right. She left, and now we're to expect that this big, tall, superstar woman is having this argument with this first-time promoter for an event. It just wasn't believable. She and her team probably weren't feeling it. She didn't need the money. She clearly didn't need the notoriety, so she left. That is my speculation on what probably happened with Bonan and her character. So then we speak about Louis. They bring Louis to the situation. Louis was definitely good looking. Louis left much to be desired. You expect, especially with American reality television, when you're dealing with people with money, status, class, upper echelon, upper crust type people, you expect them to come in with this gorilla attitude, with this boss attitude. And here it is, you had Lewis that just didn't fit the mold, right? You had Lewis who came in, he was meek, he was easily offended, he was very docile. Being a fighter was just not who he was in his spirit. And it began to get hard to watch. Ooh, y'all, this Grace Jones shirt is so wrinkled, but this body is sitting. Look at these arms. That's all that matters. Anyway, but Lewis, it became hard to watch, right? Because throughout the whole thing, you see Lewis auditioning to be their friends. And those of y'all who have been following me for years, y'all know that I can't stand the girls that come onto the shows and are just trying so hard to be friends with the girls. So that was Lewis. We're going to talk about Lewis a little more. But I will say I do like Lewis. And then the very ending of the situation made it all make sense. Then we had Fantana. They should have left that hoe in whatever Atlanta strip club they got her big pink gums, big teeth, Adele Givens looking ass from. All right, I said it. I was having a hard time understanding how the hell Fantana got cast. I did. I know this is finna sound very ignorant what's about to come out my mouth, but here it is. She wasn't African enough for me. All right. Now, they tried to explain that away by saying when she came on the scene, she was born and raised in the States. She recently moved to Ghana, and she is a dance hall artist in Ghana. All right, dance hall, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I might just be an ignorant American from Miami. I thought dance hall was a music that was of Caribbean descent. Now, I'm not stupid about the African diaspora. I understand on the slave trade that many of us were brought from Africa. We would drop down in Caribbean islands, and the ship eventually made it to the Americas. I understand that part, so I understand how an African can be of Caribbean descent. And I do understand how somebody who is African can end up in the dance hall market. I understand all of that. But Mama ain't tell us nothing about no Caribbean roots, okay? She was giving Jocelyn Hernandez. She was giving very Erica. She was giving very Yandy Smith. She was giving very Shay Johnson from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I was just trying to figure out how and what made her tie into that group. We didn't hear none of her damn music. We didn't hear the bitch sing. The bitch couldn't even do the Dutty one. Oh shit, hold on Netflix. Y'all don't fuck up the thing. Now, y'all don't try to pass this bitch off to us as a dance hall artist and she couldn't even dance. Now that I'm thinking about it, when her and Lewis went on that date, she couldn't even do a little 1-2 step or a shuffle ball change. At a minimum, she should be able to 2-step and wind all that purchased ass that she bought and all that manufactured waste. Because she bought it. She didn't buy no rhythm at the same time. She bought their body. And quiet as it kept money, whatever plastic surgery she went down to get her ass and her stomach done, she should have bought a reduction of gums and a reduction of teeth. Because this shit right here was wearing me the fuck out. You know, I think if I wasn't scared of the fact that I might give myself a stroke, I would sit here and try to do this whole video like this. Like, girl, I know all the white girls is going around pumping up their lips full of goddamn Roto-Rooter liquid Drano and Palmer's glue. But maybe you are the one person who I do condone going to get that thing get it pumped real good so it can fall over your teeth. Because that absence of you being able to close your mouth was wearing me out. And then it didn't make it no better that your mouth is already ugly in this part right here and you steady talking and got an attitude. Bitch, when you look like a barracuda by the mouth, we need you to smile. Now, the one thing that people did like about Fantana was that she was not afraid to go up against Zari, and we'll get to that later. And then last but not least, we got introduced to Anderley's 2 previous relationships, his 2 baby mamas, who were both gorgeous. He definitely has a type. And they were beautiful, and both would have made beautiful black families. And we'll talk to that as we go down a little bit longer. So moving right along, I want to give us a quick update of the characters that we got introduced to previously. Nadia served absolutely no purpose. Absolutely no purpose. Kanye I was disappointed, and she may want to watch out, right? Because season one, she was billed as the nucleus of the group. She was the one who brought everyone together. And this go around, there was a complete absence of storyline. As a matter of fact, we didn't see one scene whatsoever shot from this woman's personal domicile, which leads one to believe, is there trouble in paradise? Do she still got money? Is she still living nice? Now, I heard this through the Instagram. I don't know how true it is, but they said something to the effect that Kanye's daughter, who was living solo in her apartment, was now pregnant or had a baby or something to that effect. Y'all drop down in the comments and confirm or deny if that's true. But if that was going on, that was missed opportunity. That was missed opportunity for personal story when it comes to this show. That's what we wanted to see. Honestly and truthfully, all Kanye gave us was further advertising for whatever skin bleaching product she is using. And please, mama, you ain't fooling nobody with wearing them gloves every doggone scene, okay? You ain't fooling nobody when you had on that whole Puff Daddy and Mace sweatsuit / Missy Elliott I Can't Stand the Rain all black trash bag sweatsuit on the beach, all right? We all know what the hell was going on up under that sweatsuit and why you had it on. Netflix, another missed opportunity for personal story. Now, I would be willing to neglect and overlook the skin bleaching, the sweatsuit, the absence of what's going on with Kanye and her daughter, if this show was being marketed to an African market and us Americans were simply spectators, all right? But we can tell, based on the themes of this show and how it is shot, that this show is intentionally shot to be pushed and distributed in an American market, tap dancing and pandering to Western tastes, in congruence with Western reality TV. So if y'all gonna take y'all ass all the way over to Africa and film a show for the Americans, then y'all need to explore themes that Americans A, are ignorant about, are curious about, or have gossiped about. And that skin bleaching is one of those things that we don't necessarily understand to that magnitude. Now, if one had to guess, I'm smart enough to assume that much of it parallels America, colonization, white is right, indoor slave versus outdoor slave, light skin is the right skin. We're not that stupid. But they seem to have a whole level of something else going on. And there's a very nuanced piece that us ignorant Americans don't understand, right? Because from our vantage point, we are over here in America thrust into white society, and we understand why we have an infatuation with lighter skin, skin lightening, so on and so forth. Although colonization was global, us ignorant Americans, based on what is force-fed to us in the media, we are of the belief that everybody in Africa is proud of their skin and proud of their hair and proud of their heritage. That's what's force-fed to us. Now, granted, this show is opening up a lot of our eyes and teaching us different, but we need somebody to drive the lesson home because we don't get it. And the other thing that we don't get is that a lot of the things that y'all try to mimic from Western culture, y'all don't do well. All right? The wigs are atrocious. All right? The wigs are atrocious. While I understand that language is global and universal, it was a little annoying to me and a little disappointing to me to hear all the Western lingo, because it felt out of place. It felt like when a woman who is not part of the hip culture tries to be cool and uses gay lingo out of place. And everything is yes, girl, yes, honey, when it doesn't fit. All of the pull up. Oh, yeah, well, pull up. It just, I don't know. It just felt a little out of place and it lacked authenticity to me. It gave, we sit at home and study VH1, MTV, and Bravo. In season 2, we're going to try to imitate that stuff. That's what it was giving. Secondly, and I'm glad that I brought this out as my brain is starting to flesh through some of the emotions that I was experiencing. This show, in my opinion, definitely experienced what I consider to be the sophomore blues of reality television show. And it's when everybody on the show watches what they did season 1 and they try to overcorrect or play to the camera on season 2. There was a lot of people trying to play to the camera this season, and it just made things a little cringy at times. But going back to Kanye, she had absolutely nothing to offer this season. She was a Sheree Whitfield. All she did was ran back bones, collected bones, and stirred the pot. Callie, she's non-problematic. She's nice to look at. Outside of that, I don't really have anything to say. Like, I don't have anything positive or negative to say about Callie. Personally, that's a great thing, right? But me and you aren't personal friends. This is entertainment. When it comes to show value, it renders you useless. You yourself provide absolutely no value. You are an accessory in Quentin's storyline. And honestly and truthfully, after 2 seasons of y'all going back and forth about getting closer and taking it to the next level, we're going to need something else. We're going to need something else. And I'm trying to think, is that a great way for me to segue into? I guess, you know what, I'll use that to go ahead and segue into the love life portion of my review. I was annoyed at first with the whole Quentin Callie thing, right? Because it's just like shit or get off the pot. But then towards the end of the episode, Quentin says that he had been married either 2 times prior or 3 times prior. And that being said, it definitely made me understand his hesitation about going all in. And quite frankly, Callie, you're pushing the issue, and I get that women are sold marriage and children. But you need to step back a little bit and recognize the fact that what you have right now actually may be better than what you're asking for, considering the fact that the 3 previous times or the 2 previous times, they failed. And so what I'm getting from him is, I want to make sure unequivocally that it is right. Now, Quentin, I'm here to tell you something. That trailer proposal was a bunch of bullshit. It was a bunch of bullshit. You around here listening to Kanye, and it fucked you up and it further embarrassed your girl because you got down on your knee. And getting down on your knee signifies, by every stretch of the imagination, a proposal. But yet you left her with this open-ended whatever, and it was psychological manipulation at its best. You were attempting to keep her just a little bit longer by dangling the idea of marriage over her like a carrot in front of a doggone rabbit. And then we get to the very end of the show, and we're thinking this is going to be a huge proposal. I mean, you pulled out all the stops, and you gave this bitch a key. And Callie, he keep doing you like this because it don't take much to move you. I would have been so pissed had he gone out of his way and did all of that to give me a key. Because my spidey senses tell me you already have unlimited access to the domicile. You can already come and go as you please. I refuse to believe y'all doing a whole doggone TV show. You laying up with this man and you ain't got no key to his house already, or the code, or the clicker to the doggone garage, or you know how to jump the back gate and go to the back door and come in, or you already over there all the doggone time, so you probably already live there or have one of his spare keys somewhere in your car. It's just hard for me to believe that you don't already. And y'all tricked us into thinking that we were going to get a proposal, and what we got was a key on a keychain. Okay, girl. If that's all it take, to keep you tied up with that man, then go ahead and go for it. Let's talk about Diamond, Zari, and Fontana. Simply put, Diamond should never date anyone that will have access to the same friendship circle as Zari, right? Secondly, I don't know as viewers that we are believing that there is any remote romantic interest between Diamond and Fontana. It was giving very much, we need to figure out a way to make this spicy and a way to make Fontana a part of this cast. And Diamond has been cast in the lover boy seat, and ta-da, here's Fontana. First, it was Nadia, which was a bit more believable. Now it's Fontana. And then the whole Louis and Fontana thing was so cringy. It was so cringy because you could tell with every fiber of her being that Fontana did not have any interest whatsoever in Louis. And it was sad because Louis wanted to be there so bad that he was just going along with it and made to look like a sucker every step of the way. Now, the reason why I say Diamond should never date anybody who has access to Zari or their social circle is because there is a level of currency and there is a level of vindication that Zari gets out of her connection with Diamond. Here's the thing, right? Diamond and Zari do not have a romantic relationship any longer, but she carries all the privilege and the power of being the wife. She understands that. He understands that. And to be quite honest, I think I like it. I think I like it in terms of two people respecting the family that they built, two people respecting what it is they had and who it is they have. And it's almost as if Zari is in a position that Diamond has put her in where no other woman will ever come along and sit higher than she sits. And that's admirable on the left hand, but it's fucked up on the right hand if Diamond allows another love interest to be in her presence. If that's going to be the dynamic between you guys, then you need to make sure that this other woman never crosses paths with Zari. That way she never has to deal with being second to your baby's mother. You know? And I would be curious to know what things look like if Diamond ever does get into a situation where he gets a woman that he wants to marry and have additional children, and this woman somehow or another takes Zari's place. Now, Zari is giving me very much older vibes, witch doctor vibes, that she put some of her period blood in his spaghetti, and that Diamond's ass is caught up in the rapture of love and probably never going anywhere. But things happen. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about, y'all. I'm gonna be sitting on this camera. Let me go ahead and fold my legs, child. So then we got Andale and Zari dating. Another situation I didn't believe. Didn't really believe it. Now, I think from a maturity level, that both of those would have been good for one another. It could have worked. But I didn't really believe it. I didn't believe it. It was another one of those situations that it was giving manufactured storyline for television. There was never a time where we even experienced Zari and Andale kissing. Listen, when you like somebody, you go out on a couple days, 2 or 3 days, after 2 weeks. In the real world, the two people at least kiss. We didn't even see that, but they needed it to drive the storyline with there being beef between Andale and Zari. And okay, we went along with it just for Andale to turn around and be caught between his two baby mamas. Now, I will say, those two, that felt like the most authentic storyline of this season, right? And that was very interesting to watch because season 1, we didn't get much background on Andale. He was the classy, sidekick to the fellas that kind of had this mysterious background. And then we come to find that he has a shitload of personal story. And it was like, oh my God, he had these two great romances in the background. And both of which look like they could have been very beautiful. And I'm glad that the show did spend a lot of time on this storyline. Now listen, I forgot both of the young ladies' names, so I'm going to call them the first baby mama, which was the one who, in my opinion, was causing a lot of problems. And then the second baby mama, which he was toying with the idea of being with. Now, here is the thing, and I was able to look at this situation very clearly and tell what the hell was going on. I think when Andale got with his second baby's mom, he did the whole we are going to be one big happy family situation, you, the children, and my first baby mama. And I do think that in the beginning of the situation, it probably did work out. But baby mama number 1 still has a wifely attachment to Andale. And baby mama number 2 was saying she overstepped her boundaries. And it seems as if they had fell out because something went wrong at her house and he came over to fix it, right? Now, on the surface, that seems very petty. But what the fuck was really going on was the fact that baby mama number 2 picked up on the fact that baby mama number 1 still had a wifely connection with her man. And she did not like it. She did not like the fact that that woman still basically held the same position that she did when she was the current girlfriend. That was that right there in a nutshell. And then what did not make it better, and I don't care what type of chemistry or connection that the two of you have, when you are being flirty and or inappropriate with someone. Baby mama number 1, because of her own selfish desires to get back with him, she enjoyed playing that role. She enjoyed being flirty. She enjoyed staying engaged, locking eyes. She enjoyed that. Because as long as she had that, she still felt like she had a special part of him. Baby mama number 2 picked up on it and she wasn't here for it. You know what I'm saying? Then the thing that I did not like was when the two women were brought together at the dinner for Zari for the first time. Baby mama number 1 made it known, I didn't want your man, we're over, so on and so forth. But then on the same show, you ask him to be with you, keep throwing hints about wanting to be with him, so on and so forth, after you've looked baby mama number 2 in her face and said, I don't want your man, I'm not the reason y'all broke up, you tripping, you're this, you're that. You just validated and vindicated this woman in one season of a show. Everything she was feeling, she was absolutely correct. And Andale, if you think there's a chance in hell at this point that those two women will ever be friends, you got another goddamn thing coming. Because baby mama number 2 got an opportunity to witness baby mama number 1's true intentions. The woman sat on the show knowing that this man is trying to get back with baby mama number 2 and asked her to be with him. And confessed her love. We should give it a try. We should give it a shot. Then when he asked baby mama number 1, should he be with baby mama number 2? Baby mama number 1 rolled her eyes and stuff. Baby mama number 2 has to now see this. And she ain't gonna never trust her. So you know what? I'm actually glad that Andale made the decision to let her go. And I'm glad that baby mama number 2 was mature enough to say what she needed to say. truly let me go. And baby mama number two, I want you to do and take something a step further. Because when you tell him to let you go, you put the onus on him. Set yourself free. Because he can only do to you what you let him. And I get it. Part of you wants it, so you keep one foot in. But you go ahead and take the initiative to take your foot out his swimming pool. What else is worth talking about? Let's get down to Swanky and Annie. The thing with Swanky and Annie really hurt me. Now, season 1, despite all her whining and complaining, I liked Annie the most. I liked Annie the most because Annie, in my opinion, was the most down home, relatable. Annie gave me the type of people that I like to hang around. Just very, not highfalutin people that make it about things, but just a regular person who can just eat fried chicken and drink a Coca-Cola out of a can. I like regular, down-to-earth people who are centered and know who they are. Annie's biggest weakness, season 1, and still now, was her relationship with her husband. And the fool that she allowed her husband to make of her. Because Annie, no matter how much I like you, I can like you and still tell you stupid. That man has made a fool out of you 7 ways past Sunday. But Annie stays for the same reason that a lot of women stay in celebrity relationships, okay? And it ain't love. Love ain't got shit to do with it, because you can love people from afar. Annie's conundrum and why she's been unable to leave her husband in the past is because her relationship with that husband is currency. It's identity. It's status. Annie, being the wife of that man, gives her status. And she's not willing to give it up, okay? And I'm not necessarily knocking her, because a lot of people wouldn't give it up. And as we see, a lot of people don't give it up. Especially when they're like, shit, I'm so unhappy and he's doing all of this over here. The least I can do is have this currency over here amongst the girls. At least I can walk in and be the queen of the girls. And be respected by these minions over here because I'm Queen Annie. Now, here is what I did not like, and it's a two-part thing, right? Let me start with the easy piece. Swanky is smelling himself. Swanky's doing the most. Swanky is Africa's Marlo Hampton. Swanky, I'm here to tell you that the gimmick is up, all right? Like, all right, we get that you dress well, and you dress extremely well. It's eccentric. Now what? You know, in essence, you almost don't really get much credit for dressing well because you're a stylist. You're expected to. So now that we get it, you wear the big gaudy expressions of fashion. Now what? And speaking of, your walk is horrible, my brother. You need to learn to walk more dainty and demure if you're going to give House of Fashion realness when you walk at the scene. You wasn't breaking up the scene. You was about to break your hip, your knees, and your ankles, walking like Viola Davis in heels when she played on How to Get Away with Murder cast as Annalise Keating. You walk like a nigga in heels with that big forward-facing walk, taking those long-ass strides. Real fish don't walk like that, sis. All right? There is such an absence of personal story when it comes to Swanky, right? I understand when it comes to openness and acceptance of the LGBT community, that things are a lot different in Africa, and never would I suggest that somebody be put in a situation where their health and life and or livelihood would be placed in danger for the sake of entertainment value. But if you do live and occupy progressive enough spaces where your safety is not in jeopardy, it would be interesting to explore what it looks like to be LGBTQ plus in Africa and in fashion. Or is it one of those taboos where everybody knows but they just don't talk about it? Again, another missed opportunity for personal story. Annie and Swanky went through what parallels so much of what we see in American reality TV, and the best example to use would be Quad and Mariah. Annie brought Swanky to the party. And there's an old saying that you dance with who brought you to the party. And Swanky took on a life of his own. This is very complex. Took on a life of his own, and then also got bigger than Annie was comfortable with. And let's explore that. When people sometimes put you in position or in a position, they are fine just as long as they still have control over your access, credit for what it is you do, or is the gatekeeper to whatever it is that you got going on. All right? And I picked up on that when Annie was having the conversation with her husband, and she said, as much as Swanky begged you to dress, begged you, and you didn't want to do it, and you did it for me, I got Swanky into this. I did Swanky. I said, right there is part of what the problem is. Now, while I like Annie, I left with a very nasty taste in my mouth this season surrounding Annie. Because Annie tried to sit on this show and play in our faces like Swanky did something to her, and she was so hurt, and she didn't understand why Swanky did what he did, right? That was part one of it. Then part two of it, which is the worst part, was that when being called out on it, she was too ornery and too prideful. She wanted to just brush over it. Or, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. Or, let's just dead it, Swanky. Let's just dead it. No, mama. Why do you get to talk in full sentences about the portion of the breakdown that affected you, but when it comes to the portion of the breakdown that affected me, there's absolutely no accountability and you don't want to talk about it? And while I am glad that they did finally find resolution in the very end, I would have almost felt better had Annie kept on with her lies. And thankfully, Andale called the meeting between those two, and he lost his cool because those Annie and Swanky got very nasty with each other, bringing in each other's families. And listen, there's some tea there. When Swanky told that bitch, that's why your in-laws don't fuck with you. Oh, baby, they was going for the jugular. But at the end of the day, Annie, you were the one that was all the way wrong. Now, at the end, we were provided an explanation as to why you did what you did. But you were all the way wrong. So to play in our face and act like you didn't know that Swanky wasn't fucking with you because you sat up and read him a new one on the phone and he heard it. Then when he called you out on it, you lied about it. And see, Annie, that's where I actually have a problem with you. Because it has forever changed the way I will receive you. I didn't think you were capable of being a liar. And you have proven that it is in you when something doesn't favor you or when you're uncomfortable to lie. It's one thing to leave people guessing or to lie by omission, and it's another to just be a flat out liar. And Annie, you looked him in his face and said he was a liar. You looked at us and made us believe that you were telling the truth and he was a liar, just for you to come around and confirm that what he said was true. You said why you did it and revealed that you were a liar. I don't know that you can recover from that, because if you did it once at your big age, you'll do it again. Yeah. I don't know where Annie and Swanky go, because it's been my experience that people who feel like they gave you the life that you came to live, that's not a feeling that goes away. It's not a feeling that goes away unless something in life happens where the tables turn and that person then needs you. And because of who Annie's husband is, I don't foresee a situation where Annie will ever need Swanky in the foreseeable future. However, Swanky leaving Annie ass out at that party, she deserved every ounce of it. She deserved every ounce of it. Listen, I'm sure I'm probably missing something, but my throat is hurting at this point, and now I'm actually getting tired of talking about this. But I definitely hit all the major bullet points. I think next season, I don't want to see Fantana back. Next season, Nadia can go. Next season, I am willing to give Louis one more chance. I'd like to see some more authenticity, and I'd like to see what he actually does. If Kanye is not going to come with personal story, she can go. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. That's all I got. I'm drained, y'all. So y'all drop that in the comments and let's have a conversation about it. And then you know what? If there's any big themes that I missed, I'll double back and do a second video and take a deep dive into those themes. If you're new here, you from Africa and you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll call y'all hoes later. Bah.